We are a species of explorers, and we will meet many setbacks on the way to Mars. However, we can persevere. We, not as a nation, but as humans, will not give up. The human race will always persevere into the future.
I'm pretty sure you've already heard on this channel about the Perseverance Mars rover and the amazing data it is receiving from the Martian soil. I'm also pretty sure that you've also seen the little cute helicopter Ingenuity flying on Mars' surface. It was amazing, right? Imagine the happiness of engineers at Johnson Space Center when they managed to fly a helicopter on the surface of another planet. Here's a picture of Perseverance. And here's a picture of Ingenuity. Both pictures were taken before the launch, which happened on July 30th, 2020. Now they are doing their fantastic job some millions of kilometers away from us on the red planet, and every single day we receive and analyze data. NASA's Perseverance actually has its own blog where scientists update us in real time about what's going on Mars. In this video, we're going to discuss some of the major updates that has happened between January and April of 2022. Perseverance started 2022 successfully coring and extracting a sample from a Mars rock. At the beginning, everything went smoothly, and the coring of Isol, as the team nicknamed the rock, seemed to be pretty boring. However, during the transfer drop-off, it's when the drill bit with its sample tube and just cored sample nestled inside is guided out of the percussive drill and into the bit carousel. During processing of previous cored rock normal samples, the bit traveled something like 13.1 centimeters before sensors began to record the drag, which is a resistance expected at first contact with the carousel structure. But at a certain point, something else happened. Suddenly, the sensor recorded higher resistance than usual at about 1 centimeter earlier than expected, and so much higher resistance than expected during the operation. What the team did was requesting additional data to ensure proper understanding of the state post anomaly. It took about a week to receive the additional diagnostic data needed to understand what was going on. Armed with that data set, we sent up a command to extract the drill bit and sample-filled tube from the bit carousel and undock the robotic arm from the bit carousel. This is what we can read on NASA's Perseverance website. The images confirm that inside the bit carousel there were a few pieces of pebble-sized debris. The team is confident that these were fragments of the cored rock that fell out of the sample tube at the time of coring bit drop-off, and that they prevented the bit from seating completely in the bit carousel. So basically, Perseverance needed a debris removal. The team was confident they could continue with the analysis, but this was the first time they were doing a debris removal, and the wise choice was to take the necessary time to ensure the pebbles exit in a controlled and orderly fashion. One thing we found is that when the engineering challenge is hundreds of millions of miles away, it pays to take your time and be thorough. This is what NASA's JPL said. Were you guys expecting that one of the major challenges for Perseverance was to get rid of debris? Well, we couldn't wait for that to be done because Perseverance was next headed back north. The team made good and fast progress ejecting pebbles that became lodged in the carousel, but 2 tedious and stubborn ones remained on the outside. That's why the rover completed a little bump of 3 meters, and finally the 2 remaining pebbles shook loose. This happened on January 31st, 2022. In the meanwhile, to prepare, the team has been taking long-distance observations of the western delta where Perseverance had to go. Pictures were taken with the Mastcam Z and Supercam instruments. The observations included Mastcam Z stereo images of the western part of Barnaby Ridge that allowed scientists to create 3D models of the outcrop. The team was starting to plan the observations because with Perseverance's autonomous driving capabilities, they would be at the delta before they knew it. Everything went quite smooth, and finally on February 10th, 2022, something amazing happened. This was the day Perseverance set the record for the longest single sole total distance recorded by any Martian rover. It was actually 243.3 meters long. Oh, for those of you who don't know what a sol is, it's how we call a Martian day. But let's go step by step. This record was set thanks to the fact that Perseverance had already been on the same road, so now engineers knew how to drive it and how to avoid major obstacles. The place where they were headed is Dump Sita, and where they came from was Octavia E. Butler Landing. Now they were heading towards Octavia again. JPL said as they drove towards Sita earlier in the mission, their average daily drive distance was shorter. in part because they were doing scientific reconnaissance at important stops along the way, and in part because they were still learning how to maximize drive efficiency with the rover. Now, on the return trip back to Octavia E. Butler Landing, they were speeding back. At the end of Sol 341, Perseverance was currently in front of an outcrop called Rimplos for a quick abrasion and proximity science pit stop on its way back. This location is close to where Perseverance was on Sol 177, almost 170 sols before, near the Artaby outcrop where it saw intriguing layered rocks. We now understand these layered rocks to be part of the Artaby member, a group of rocks with common characteristics, JPL said. And here we are now. It's April 1st, 2022, and Perseverance is in a drive campaign going faster than any previous rover. Its speed is something under 1/10 of a mile per hour, but it is way faster than its predecessors. Moreover, this has allowed Perseverance to break previous rovers' records in terms of distance, as we've already said. For example, Curiosity was making a number of drives over 100 meters, but it never reached 200. This, however, was not due to a lack of qualities. It was just because the terrain was rockier. For instance, Opportunity, which landed way back in 2004, had some very smooth patches of terrain, allowing it to travel up to 228 meters in a single day using solar power. But one thing is sure, it's not enough to set a long-distance record. In these cases, what really matters is to put together a continuous campaign. This requires energy, time, and enough data volume to Earth to support next-day drive decisions. Perseverance seems to have all of that, allowing the team to put together a sustained campaign that has met and actually exceeded expectations. Speaking of this, as of Friday, March 25th, 2022, which was Sol 389, Perseverance had driven a total of 6.6 kilometers or 4.1 miles. In terms of overall distance, Perseverance has a lot left if it wants to catch up with Opportunity, 45 kilometers, or Curiosity, over 27 kilometers. Who knows? Maybe Perseverance will eventually surpass these other rovers. We can only wait and see. Did you know that you can watch the progress of Perseverance in real time? Check it out at the link in the description. Also, if you are enjoying the video, consider liking or disliking it so that we can continue to improve and make these videos better for you, the viewer. Plus, be sure to click the bell and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any of our weekly videos. Speaking of records, Ingenuity's longest single-day flight was 625 meters, logged back in July of 2021. As of April 1st, Ingenuity was currently heading northwest across Sita, aiming to rendezvous with Perseverance near the Delta. And the last update came on April 15th. The previous week, Perseverance made its way through to the Delta. The next weeks will be exciting because we don't know much about the Delta, and data could bring any kind of new discoveries. If you are a geologist, for example, the excitement of the Delta comes from not knowing what is coming next. Every image that is returned by the rover of the Delta rocks will be kind of unique. But what's a Delta? Well, as we know studying the ones on Earth, a delta forms when a sediment-laden river runs into a body of standing water, and as it does so, slows and can no longer hold the sediment, so it drops the rocks, gravel, and soil into the water body, which gently sinks to the bottom and forms a delta. Over time, the delta layers like a book with pages, and we can turn it over each day to learn more about this beautiful novel, which is the history of Mars. Maybe the most intriguing possibility is that we may find fossilized traces of ancient Martian life in these delta rocks. In one scenario, life might have started something like 4 billion years ago, when Mars was probably more friendly to life, and was preserved in the watershed until one fateful day when they were washed into the river system and then the crater. As we can read on JPL's blog, these interesting rocks will arrive somewhat randomly to us as we explore the delta. One can appreciate that every day of the year-long Delta campaign will be exciting for every scientist on the team, because every day could be the day we hit it big, real big. Well done, guys, we reached the end of this video. In short, Perseverance reached some milestones. It has tested out all of its engineering capabilities, driven 2.6 kilometers over rough terrain, and taken tens of thousands of photos with its 19 cameras. Of all of these incredible successes, there are 3 major milestones that we're particularly excited about: collecting the first rock core samples, flying the Ingenuity helicopter, and publishing our first scientific results about the so-called Jezero Crater Delta. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching, everyone. What do you think about Perseverance rover? Did you know about the existence of Ingenuity? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.